Oh, this is going to be one of my favourite places in the whole game just because of the noises in the background. The ambience here is incredible. It reminds me a lot of the concept art reels they did a long time ago that had sounds like this. This is the one place in the game I feel like I could genuinely close my eyes and get absolutely lost. Look at this place. Hello everybody and welcome to another video. I will wave at you. We're in southern Lornar's Pass at the moment, not really a particularly special place, but I really like it just because of these birds. I'm hoping there's a lot more of that in the Timberline Falls, which is where I'm going to go for this video. This really is nothing special or important or anything in particular. It's just, yesterday, it's funny, I've been wanting to get back to using community footage for daily, and I don't know, it was weird. I just felt like I really wanted to film my own stuff in a weird way. So outside of other things that I've got planned and outside of the dungeon stuff that will be coming and all that. So yeah, I just really wanted to get in game and talk to you guys and show you my character and how things have been going, and just generally show you what's going on, and just to express how much fun I'm still having with the game. I dinged 80, as you may or may not be able to see. The UI is a little bit small. Hold on, let's make that a little bit bigger for you, at least just for this video. I like to have the UI really small, in fact. Usually the map's a bit smaller than that, just so that I can... I don't know, I like to try and immerse myself as much in this game as possible, which doesn't really mean much, to be perfectly honest, when I spend most of the time with my guild just in vent, but still, I do tend to play like that. Hold on, let's actually find where the scale is. Is it under graphics? There we go. Let's go large for now so that you guys can actually see. So yeah, yesterday I dinged 80, which was quite exciting. As you'll see here though, I've still got a lot to progress in terms of gear. A lot of my gear is still sub-level 80. It kind of dawned on me that really, once you do hit 80 and you start getting 80 gear, obviously it's a lot more difficult to transmute now. So that's a little bit of a shame. So I've kind of kept it sub-level 80 right now. They're only level 63 as you can see. But generally just a bit of a mishmatch. As I've been playing through the game, I've been finding it really hard to keep up with the crafting in terms of being able to craft stuff I can actually wear, because as you level the crafting itself, you're leveling your character up too. So trying to keep those curves together, if you will, for your first character seems like it would be very hard. However, for my next characters, I've already got a lot of mats already stored up, so I think that won't be a problem when you're rolling alts. But for the first one, definitely I did find that. But what this does mean now, that's quite nice, is that even though I've hit 80, I still have a lot of progression. I felt like I hit 80 very quickly. I went to a few areas to the north and just started getting tons and tons of levels just for doing some exploration up here. Fireheart Rise in particular was ridiculous for levels, and then I just did a bit of crafting and I hit 80 very, very quickly. So it's not difficult to get in this game. As we all know, it wasn't really meant to be difficult, and it doesn't signify the end of anything anyway. You'll see up here in the top right hand corner, I'm still only on my level 30 personal storyline, which is quite low. I do know a fair bit. I don't really consider myself someone that gets spoiled easily, so I know a lot about the personal story and the stuff that happens with it going forward, but I've just not kind of played it myself just yet, because to me it's still very interesting and it doesn't ruin it necessarily. I mean, a lot of the really interesting lore and stuff we're getting really just comes from an NPC, and there's very little context outside of it. The NPC is just stood somewhere, you speak to them and they kind of blow your mind with the text, and that text can be delivered to you outside of the game, I feel like, and it still has the same impact on me. So I still haven't really gone that far into my personal story. I will be continuing it. I really want to just get sunk in and do kind of one long session. Now that I'm 80, I'm pretty sure I should be able to do that, but as I say, I only dinged it yesterday, and really I've just been playing around with a lot of stuff. My main goal right now is, as I say, really to get 100% map completion. I'm on 65%. Before I started going south, before I did Lornar's Pass and Dredgehaunt, I made sure that I had all of the Tarnished Coast done. I made sure I had all of Kryta done. I made sure I had the northern Shiver Peak stuff, Ascalon done, and yeah, I just kind of progressed my way through Ascalon and hit 80 very quickly, which is kind of how I ended up coming to Lornar's Pass and that. And now, basically, my idea is, in tandem with the personal story, I'm just going to slowly head south and make my way past Mount Maelstrom, which I'm quite excited about, and into the Ruins of Ore, which will be really cool. So that's kind of how my character's going at the moment. Definitely, I'm loving the Ellie so much. I'll talk to you about her build a little bit in a second, but it's just so much fun. What was left over from when I played my Mesmer originally, though, does count. A lot of these achievements now are account bound, so I hit 1,000 yesterday as well. I hit 1,000 achievement points and 80 level 80, which was quite cool. A lot of these, though, are just, it's very much like Guild Wars 1, where you can get the first 1,000, I feel like, very, very easily, and now it's kind of slowed down a lot, where if you have a look, for example, at the Slayer achievements, suddenly it gets a lot harder to get the next tiers. I've almost done, I mean, I haven't maxed any of these yet. I know a lot of people who have. I've almost maxed Indiscriminate Slayer. That's from killing the little little bugs and stuff, which is quite cool. Almost got centaurs, but there's certain other ones. I believe giants it is. I've only killed one giant my entire time playing the game. That was an event in the Diasa Plateau. One giant. I'm aware of where there are a fair few more giants, so they will be coming my way when I get to those places, but still, one giant. Some of these will take a very long time to do, and I think that's quite cool though, because achievements should be more long term. And in fact, I've been a little bit disappointed, to tell you the truth, with some of the achievements that just seem to have ended so quickly. Look at the tradesman tab. Me and Mike, well, Mike had it for the first day, I had it in the morning of the second day of the game. We'd finished Salvage Master. I mean, and that just seems ridiculous to me, that the cap for this title is so very low. That should be like 10 tiers. These things, in my opinion, should be keeping us busy for years to come. If this game is going to have any kind of longevity, ArenaNet need to have built these things into the foundation, things for people to go for, and they should have some kick-ass title at the end. And why it is kick-ass is because it's so difficult to get to, and it will be rare, and it's something for people to go to. I really feel like they've missed a trick with a lot of these achievements, that you can just accomplish them so quickly. Now, for Salvage Master in particular, that's not so bad, because you do get this secondary title, which is infinite. It will just cycle up and up and up, and you'll get an extra 2 achievement points every time you complete it, which is interesting. It does have some weird ramifications for what the achievement system itself, the point system, could mean in the future. I'm quite curious about that. I quite liked it as being a closed system, as in there was a finite amount of achievement points anyone could get before they finished the game. I quite liked that. I liked the idea that if you came on every single day and every single month, you could get the dailies and you could get the monthly, and you would have more achievement points than other people, and that would continue to ramp up, and I liked that idea. But then now we have these going on infinitely. You could in theory just get a bunch of people, give you tons and tons of stuff, keep salvaging it away, and then bump your achievement points up to other players that potentially could have been playing for a lot longer or been a lot more dedicated, or even have much harder titles than you. So I'm not sure whether I really like that. I do appreciate what ArenaNet are trying to do though, because now they've made it open-ended, and that problem of never having any titles to work for does in a way go away. But then at the same time, this isn't really an end goal being provided here, is it? It's just a couple more points, a couple more points, a couple more points. It's not so exciting. Seeing a lot of that kind of stuff, some of them that are worse. Tinkerer, the transmuted, that's ridiculous. You can get that if you've got the any Hall of Monument reward that applies to a weapon or an armor skin. That counts as transmutation. You just max that straight away. That is a non-title. It pretty much doesn't exist. It's just 15 points that ArenaNet have patted you on the back and said congratulations and given it to you. So there are some things with the achievement system I wish were a little bit different, but in general I've been having a lot of fun with it. I do like the points, I do like getting them, and as long as these things are updated as the game continues, then hopefully it will be a pretty sound system that a lot of people can really rally behind. Some of them are quite cool actually that I have liked. For example, this one here, Ascalon Explorer, I pretty mindlessly, just as I knew people and myself would end up doing, pretty mindlessly just went from, after I did the starting areas, I went from Evenhawk and just 100%ed the maps as I went north and north and north. Now, in theory, that means I have been everywhere in Ascalon. I have been there. Places that are within dungeons don't actually count as a part of the exploration for those titles. So, really, I've been everywhere. But if you have a look at my title, because I have just been rushing from heart to heart, it's not been so bad, honestly. I have been spending a lot of time talking to NPCs and taking my time with it. But, really, I haven't been really exploring and looking around enough, and the result is that even though the map says I've 100% in Ascalon, I've got a lot of areas here that I haven't actually completed or found, which is great. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the Font of Rand in particular will be one of those. I haven't been in there since live, and there'll be a few other things like that, which is cool. So this is going to take a little bit of extra effort, and I quite like that about the Ascalon Explorer achievement, and I'm actually quite close to finishing. I'm quite excited about finishing that one too. The same can be said for Kryta. Kryta though in particular, I'm quite far behind on that. But once you have finished all of the Krytan areas, if you are finding you're a few short, but you haven't done much personal story, there are some unique areas in the game that you can only access through the personal story, so be aware of that for Krytan at least. That might even affect some of the other ones. Maguma, I mean, I've not finished any of these, though in theory some of these regions should be finished for me, which is quite cool. So anyway, that's just a little bit of my thoughts on the achievements. I could probably talk all day about them. I do enjoy it very much. I quite like them. These are the jumping puzzles I've got so far. You might see a couple that have been maxed out. I know where a lot of them are, but I'm deliberately not doing them so I can film them with Mike to show you guys when it dings. Some of these I might have got, I believe at least one of them on this list I've got that I'm going to go back and film with Mike later. But yeah, it's really, really cool. Jumping puzzles is just as fun as they ever were. And I can't wait to show you guys some of these because you are missing out if you haven't been focusing on any of these puzzles. Some of them are incredible. Really a lot of fun. So anyway, that's just kind of my achievement progress, my character. I kind of look at this as my character creator's main progress here with the achievements. My eventual goal in the game at the moment is obviously finish the personal story. I want to finish all the dungeons too. So far we've done every single story mode dungeon up to Sorrow's Embrace, and also we have finished every single Catacombs explorable version, and I have footage for all the most difficult stuff there, which again will be going out soon enough. And that's kind of my plan there with the dungeons too. I want to show you guys a lot of the difficult explorable stuff. As long as it remains quite hard, I found Caudicus's Manor to be significantly easier than any of the other dungeons we did, and Sorrow's Embrace harder, I would say, even harder than the Catacombs. But I quite like the balance of them. If you are struggling in them, please don't take that as a fault of the game. I've seen a lot of people kind of saying that the enemies take too long to kill, or that they do too much damage, and honestly, don't blame the game about that. That is something that you should really enjoy. That is something that if you want to do those dungeons, that is something that you should look towards rallying towards, thinking about your builds, working, progressing, making your teams better. That's the really fun stuff. That's a fun part of the game that certain players really enjoy. If you flat out don't enjoy that kind of experience, please don't try and have that section of the game change just so that it's more accessible to you, because as it currently stands, I feel like the balance for a lot of it, some of it's a bit off, definitely. Caudicus, for example, does seem off, but the dungeons in particular, I really am enjoying. Anyway, I've not really been running around that much. So anyway, that's my main goals at the moment. Get 100% map, finish all the dungeons, and then just start working away on the old achievements. I don't know about legendary weapons. I think I'll probably go for those eventually, but we'll have to see. So yeah, the other thing I really wanted to talk to you guys about today was the build I've set up for my Elementalist, which, I don't know, as I said if you watched Daily the other day, I did mention I'm quite proud of this build. I think it's pretty awesome, but at the same time, I don't know how it holds up really competitively. All I do know is that I've managed to build an Ellie that is reasonably viable in using dual daggers in dungeons, which was, when I first started trying it, incredibly difficult because you just get nuked out instantly. And I do feel like Staff probably is the best way to go, or at least Scepter is the best way to go in dungeons, because especially if you're going with the condition damage, you will get a lot more. There's a lot more in the way of AoEs. It's a lot less burst. It's a lot more sustain, which generally you need. But this has just generally been very fun, especially for normal PvE. So yeah, I'll take you guys through my build. If you're playing as an Elementalist, I have had quite a few comments actually when I put out footage of this on Daily of people talking about this build. And really, I've refined it a little bit. What you saw in Daily was very glass cannon, which generally isn't a very good idea. But now I've kind of turned it into a bit of a boon juggling build, which has been a lot of fun. And there's so many quirky little things you can do. So what I'm going to do is first I'll show you just my general setup, and then I'm going to play and do a bit of post commentary to talk to you guys about what I'm actually doing on the footage. So basically my setup is here. We have dual daggers equipped. Usually I have these two dual daggers equipped, these two right here. But I also have an offhand dagger. You don't really get offhands in the traditional sense as an Elementalist, but with this offhand dagger of Bloodlust, it's not a great sigil. I don't have a superior, it's just a minor one. You've probably heard of Bloodlust if you've been playing the game. It's a sigil. Sigils are upgrades for your weapons, and this particular sigil, the sigil of Bloodlust, is very useful for general PvE because it increases your power by 5 every time you kill a foe. Up to 25 times. So you can see on my active effects down here, Bloodlust, my attacks deal extra damage. There are different versions of this. I was playing with one that did condition damage for a very long time. But generally this is a very useful weapon, because a very useful sigil, because especially for an Elementalist, because it only ends when you get downed. Now, what this means is, as long as you're playing well and you don't get downed, you can actually be quite cheeky with it as an Elementalist. You're only supposed to have one weapon set, but you can charge up the stacks, as you can see me doing here with these 7 stacks, and then swap over to 2 other daggers or 2 of your other weapons. And as you can see here, even though I don't have my offhand equipped, my Bloodlust offhand equipped, I do still get the stack. So what you can do is stack your way up to 25 using this, and then go back into your 2 other weapons. So my main fighting set, these aren't that great by the way. A lot of my gear isn't totally up to spec. Basically what I'm hoping to do is I've completed all of I've got to level 80, so now I can wear level 80 stuff, but to keep a nice sense of progression, I'm just gonna basically wear stuff that I find as drops, or I'm gonna try and craft stuff that's better for me, so that progression continues for quite a while, because I do like to feel like I'm still getting more stats and stuff while I'm playing the game. So that's my general plan. I'm not gonna buy anything off of the trading post, but this dagger here is just a generic one from a merchant when you're at max level. But yeah, so basically, the main two weapons I've got will eventually be fully, level 80 weapons. But the two sigils I've settled on is one is a superior sigil of battle, which means that when you swap weapon sets, you gain might as long as you are swapping weapon sets in combat. Now, luckily for an Elementalist, that might seem like really useless on an Elementalist because we don't weapon swap at all. We just have attunements. But ArenaNet have been kind to us, and they do treat our attunement swaps as weapon swaps, which means we do gain the functionality that all of these sigils provide. In fact, it flips it on its head a little bit because we now, in a weird way, have 4 weapon sets, which means we have more options to be able to proc these things. They tend to have a reasonable cooldown on them. I believe it was at some point in the betas about 7 seconds on the cooldown, but it might be a bit more now. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't checked. But in any case, you do actually get a reasonable amount of benefit out of these on an Elementalist. So I'm gaining 3 stacks of might when I swap to this weapon in combat. The entire build pretty much is about getting yourself lots of nice boons. So that adds quite nicely to the build, and you'll see how just there, swapping just to fire attunement, that's all I did. I now have 4 stacks on might because I have a trait that will give me might just swap into fire, and then the sigil also procs up too. So what will end up happening is just from that, as you can see, I have 7 stacks on my Bloodlust sigil, plus 4 stacks of might already. It's already boosted my power quite significantly without really me having to spec significantly into power through all of my weapons, or going entirely glass cannon with all of my gear and my traits. So that's just one thing that's going on here. The other dagger that I've got is a superior sigil of air. In the betas I was using this a lot in PvP. It's just pretty great. I really like it. It does a lot of lightning damage just randomly whenever you'll be doing a critical hit. I believe for a while it was bugged and those lightning strikes would then critical themselves and maybe cause other lightning strikes, but that's actually been fixed now. But it's only got a cooldown of 5 seconds. You'll see in my traits I'm not spec'd too heavily into crit damage, but I will crit enough to see this go off. I had quite a nice setup for a while where I had one dagger when I weapon swap, I do a little bit of earth damage and make things bleed around me, and I had this air sigil too. And what was really fun to do would be to be, say, in water attunement, swap out into fire attunement, which would do a burst of damage around me, which would then also, because I've weapon swapped, cause the earth damage to come up, which would then proc on the lightning sigil. So you do 3 elements of damage and 3 stacks of bleed just on a single attunement swap, which was really fun. But I've stopped playing with that for now, and now these are the 2 I've gone with, just for the extra damage from the superior sigil of air and the superior sigil of battle for the might. So further than this, my gear is general. The armour in particular, I don't have a full rune set on me at the moment. I quite like the idea of going with Balthazar because that will buff your damage a bit, but it will also give you haste, which, it's just, I really want quickness or haste. I really want to be able to get those extra attacks. I was playing with a sigil that granted me that. That is, by the way, all of your actions will cast far quicker. So, for example, as an Elementalist, if you've got it on you and you're using skill 1 on the daggers, these spheres, they just start flying out constantly. It's really fun. But it doesn't last very long using the sigil, so I think I'd like to get Balthazar runes. As for the jewellery, this is just some pretty much power, precision, and crit damage as offensive as you can get, really. Not very original, shall we say, but this is just what I crafted myself before, and as you can see, it's only required level 65, so as I grow as a jeweler, I'll probably get all the way up to 80 and gain more power. But that's basically my setup as far as gear, and as far as gear is concerned. Looking at the traits, this is probably the most important bit. I've gone 20 into fire magic, so I've got some pretty reasonable damage. I haven't gone nuts with it though and gone all the way up. In fact, I haven't even unlocked my last traits at the moment because this build is pretty much all I've been using for a long time, and it doesn't actually go full into any of these lines, which is cool, especially considering I'm a little bit lower on money at the moment. But yeah, so basically I've gone 20 into fire, which obviously will give you the minor that you will cause burning whenever someone attacks you in melee, and also as you swap to fire you do damage, as I mentioned earlier. I've gone with cantrips, grant me 3 stacks of might, so there's some boons right there. And as you can see on my utility skills, I've got two cantrips here, which I'll describe their use later. And I've also got deal 10% more damage while attuned to fire, which is always nice. I've gone 10 into air magic, which will make me move faster in air attunement, and also, this is a very important one, auras grant me fury and swiftness when applied. Now, while wielding daggers, you actually get 2 auras. You get 1 aura in water attunement, and you get 1 aura in lightning attunement. Shocking aura, and what was the other one? can't remember. Frosty aura? Frost aura, okay? The other two achievements do have auras. Fire does have an aura, and so does Earth, but they're on different weapon sets. The aura for Earth is on a staff, it reflects projectiles, and the aura for Fire is on a scepter, which just puts a flame barrier on you, which really isn't that useful, to be honest. But basically, using dual daggers, you will get these two auras available to you. There is another weapon set you can use that will give you two auras. If you go dagger main hand and focus offhand, you'll get the Fire aura and the lightning aura, which is okay, but I prefer dual daggers. So this is very, very useful. What it basically means is when I swap into lightning achievement, I'll not only get swiftness for swapping into it, but I'll also get swiftness from the aura that's there, which will give me a lot of swiftness for a while. It will also give me fury, and as you're about to see, some other stuff, because if we look further in the traits here, you can see in Earth, these auras are also giving me protection for 3 seconds whenever I use these auras. And these boons, by the way, the length of them is increased through my through speccing into Arcana, so it's always slightly more than what it's saying here. So just from weapon swapping into water here, as you can see, if you watch my boons, you'll see you get a buttload of stuff on you straight away, which is very cool. Moving on to water, I've got cantrips granting me regeneration and vigor. As you can see up here, we had another one that was buffing cantrips here, 3 stacks of might, so even more boons. And finally Arcana, which at first wasn't a trait line I was really particularly interested in. But the more I've played an Elementalist, the more I've loved it. The two stats it gives you just from speccing into it increases boon duration, which didn't really appeal to me at first, and also reducing the attunement recharge rate didn't seem to appeal to me either. But actually, I'm really enjoying it now because of this build where I'm using so many boons. So just by speccing into this, I'm helping myself significantly, because by swapping into these achievements, I'm giving myself boons anyway, which are now lasting longer, and I can get back to quicker because they're recharging faster. It all feeds back into itself. Anyway, so speccing just 5 in, I will be getting Fury from achievement swaps, which is very nice. Very important trait slot here, which is when attuning to an element, you gain a specific boon. This is why when I swap to Fire, I give myself some power. It's why when I swap to Earth, I give myself some protection. It's why when I go to Lightning, I'm giving myself swiftness and so forth. Very, very, very useful if you want any kind of boons. And these are applied to everyone on your team too, which makes you just that little bit more supporty. Now here's the other trait as well. This is giving me Vigor when I critical hit 33% of the time, which almost maintains vigor on you pretty much the entire time through the fights. So this is really useful if you like to dodge a lot. As an Elementalist, I would say you are quite squishy. If you're going with daggers, you're going to be close, you're going to be in the front line, so dodging around is probably advisable. I rebound my dodge key, I've had a lot of questions about this too. I rebound my dodge key onto my middle mouse button as well. Originally I was using X, I rebound it from V, but to tell you the truth, X was kind of annoying because if I wanted to strafe right and also dodge at the same time, I had to do a lot of weird stuff with my fingers and it was very difficult. If you bind it onto a middle mouse button, obviously this depends on your mouse, but for me it's very comfortable and very easy. You can dodge in any direction very easily, very safely, so that's something to consider. And with that, with Vigor on you all the time, as you can see, I've already fully recharged both of my dodges. Honestly, I'm not that amazing. Oh, did you really manage to summon that in time? I'm not that amazing with getting the dodges constantly out all the time, but it's something that I feel like is really good to that increases the skill cap of this build, of any class really in Guild Wars 2. Being able to not only execute all of your skills and combos and stuff that you've worked out, but always watching the enemy and being able to dodge them, looking for their tails and stuff, that's where it gets really interesting. And using a lot of Vigor is very helpful for that. It's certainly for practicing where there's obviously less of a recharge on the amount of times you can dodge. So anyway, those are my traits. As you can see, this has been a little bit long-winded, but that's basically what's going on here. A little bit into everything, as you can see. Now, this might make you think, because I've not specced heavily into Earth, for example, so I'm not getting a lot of condition damage, because I haven't specced into Air Magic, I'm not getting a lot of critical hits, and because I've not specced fully into Fire, you would think I'm not getting that much damage out either. Actually, the combination of the Sigil of Bloodlust plus the amount of might we're about to get from these fights really does buff you up quite significantly. So let's take out this wolf. This is basically my main combo that I always open up on people with. It can change, and there's a lot of different stuff you can do, which I'll probably show you in a bit. But this is always a very nice intro to go in. So you're going to ride the lightning into them, updraft them so they're knocked down. Then you're going to swap into Fire Attunement, which will give you 4 might, just because you've swapped over there in combat. Then you can dart in on Fire Attunement, lay down a field. You can use Arcane Wave to get more might out of it. Your 2 cantrips, and I'll explain why I'm using these 2 cantrips in particular in a bit. And you'll just have a ton of might out of it. So just watch my boons during this fight, okay? So we'll go on to this wolf. Someone else has already aggroed me, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, then you swap over to Earth, and you can knock everyone down again, so you've chained them. And these two Earth skills here actually also grant you might. So if you can see here, I'm on 16 stacks of might from that very, very short fight, which has really increased my power. If the fight's still going on, you can swap back into fire, and you'll be on 17 stacks of might for a short period of time. But those 16 stacks, they'll last quite a while. I'm still on 13, and you have a fair bit of sustain in all of that too, because not only have you introed to knock someone down so they can't do anything to you, but also you've just given yourself you haven't used up any of your mobility skills. You've now given yourself a load of vigor, you've given yourself a whole ton of boons. Look at all these boons that are on me at the moment, and you can easily get away from anyone that's near you. You still have water attunement open to you to swap into, which naturally is more defensive in the first place. And actually it took me a while to start appreciating how powerful this is, but skill 3 in water, this chill, it's incredible. Chill is one hell of a condition. Like, they cannot get to you if you chill them, and it gives you plenty of time to get away, recharge all your stuff, knock them down, and do whatever you want. Now, the reason why you might be looking at my cantrips and thinking, is Lightning Flash really that useful in fights? There you go. As you can see, you can just absolutely nuke stuff down. You might be thinking, is Lightning Flash really that useful in fights? Well, for a start, the way that we spec the traits here is that I'm going to be getting a fair amount of boons out of it straight away. So just from that, it's useful. But why not use something like shit, what's it called? It's the fire one. Cleansing Flame, there we go. Why not use something like Cleansing Flame, which will remove all conditions from you and at the same time break you out of any stuns and burn everyone in the area? Surely that's better, that's more offensive. Well, what I quite like about this is don't underestimate when you're on your Earth attunement, don't underestimate how powerful Churning Earth is. The main problem with Churning Earth as an ability though is it takes a very long time to activate, and in clutch situations you might be screwed by it. There are traits that will allow you to get more defense while channeling skills, but generally I found them not to be worth it. But what's nice about Lightning Flash is this very nice little thing you can do here where you can start churning it and then you can Lightning Flash to move around while you're churning the Earth. So actually you get to keep that mobility for as long as you have Lightning Flash about, and it feeds into itself again, because if you use Lightning Flash while you are doing the churning Earth, that's going to give you more might, so that when the actual damage triggers you're doing even more. So it all works very, very nicely. I very much enjoy Lightning Flash. And Armor of Earth too. Why are we using Armor of Earth? Because Armor of Earth is the only thing really that using this build is giving me stability. Elementalists don't get stability very easily to them. You have to go all the way into Earth Magic, and one of the last ones you get in Earth Magic is Rock Solid, which means when you attune to Earth you only get stability for 2 seconds, which can be a problem. That won't last you the whole way through your churning Earth. But if you look at my boons here, just from using Earth attunement, we'll let all that stuff run out right now so that you can see, just from using Armor of Earth right now, you can see you get a ton of boons from that straight away, and that stability will see you through any cast of Churning Earth you could possibly want. So really the nice combo is, if you're gonna roll into Earth Magic to do all of that damage, try and do it after you've laid down your skill 4 on fire, because then you'll be in that field and you'll just give yourself, as I say, so much might that all this defense we've worked into the build, all of these boons that are helping us, all this regeneration, all this swiftness, the vigor, all of it actually doesn't matter. It's not costing you damage, because at the same time you're giving yourself so much extra might. So as I said, I've just been having so much fun with this. There are a lot of little quirks and little things that you can do with this build. I'm still learning little things that are helpful. For example, again with the Churning Earth, you can still swap attunements while you're using Churning Earth and it won't cancel your cast. And what's so nice about that is it means that you can roll into your other attunements. Like right now, for example, I'm not on full health. I can go straight into water and I can give myself that regeneration, and if any of my auras were recharged at that point, they will also automatically ding. So very, very useful. I've got 2 little tips as well I can give you guys if you're going to try and roll something like this that just make the experience. One of them makes it a bit harder to play, but when you get used to it, you'll be fine. It does mean more key presses, it certainly does, but it will make the game much, it will allow you to do a lot more. And the other thing is just a quality of life thing. So, as you are probably aware, in Guild Wars 2, you kind of auto-attack with skill 1. As you can see here in Earth Attunement, you can see quite vaguely, you might have to be on quite high quality settings here, but you can see around my skill 1 here, I have 2 arrows. These define which ability ability of mine is on auto attack. You can define this yourself. If you hold left control and select and right click any of your other abilities, it will set that to your auto attack. So now this is my auto attack, my elite is my auto attack. And you can do this with so that while you're in combat, whatever you want will just be triggered immediately. Now, it's not actually advisable, I would suggest, with any skills that have any kind of cast time. However, you can define a different auto attack depending on achievement. So I've left my auto attack for fire attunement as Dragon's Claw, and I'll change that back for Earth. But in Water and in Lightning, I've set them as my auras. They're instant activation, and the game can probably do it a little bit quicker than you can as you swap. So just from rolling into Water attunement and Air attunement here, I've given myself a ton of boons, because I've given myself the boons from swapping in the first place, plus all the stuff that's triggering on the auras. So it's very, very helpful when you're in the fights, and I would recommend any, no matter what your setup is, really, unless you're not relying on auras very much at all, in which case it doesn't matter that much, to just go for that if you are wielding the daggers, or as I say, if you're using dagger main hand and focus offhand, sorry. If you go with that, then it might be advisable to set it onto your skill 5 on Earth, which will be your other aura. So that's quite cool. The other thing that you're going to want to do, which Mike helped me find out actually, is down here in your, which options is it? No, it's right here in your main options. If you turn off auto targeting, right, this will make the game a little bit more difficult to play. By default, if you don't have a target and you are close to something in Guild Wars 2, and you use an ability, it will direct that ability to whatever enemy is near to you. Now what that means is, for example, we've got this wolf here, yeah? Now if I go into air attunement and I turn auto targeting on, let's have this wolf aggro me. Okay, now he's attacking me and I want to leave. I want to get away from this wolf, right, because he's fighting me. So why don't I ride the lightning away from him? Well, if I try, oh, it did actually work that time, but we went into this wolf here. A lot of the times you'll find while you're in combat with auto targeting on, Ride the Lightning will automatically target whatever's closest to you, and you'll end up just hitting into them, and it can't actually be used as a particularly reliable escape, especially in SPVP. I would seriously recommend you change this for if you're going with SPVP, because it can really mess you up, especially when there's a lot of minions and clones and stuff around. The game doesn't quite know who to target or whether you want to flee. However, if you turn auto targeting off, this behavior will end, and you will be able to, as you can see here now, walk up to any enemy you want. I'm feeling a bit bad about these wolves, actually. I've been killing so many of them. With auto-targeting on right now, I would just fly straight into that wolf and damage him. But without it, I just fly straight through him, and I can be away and I can be safe. What this does mean, though, is you have to be constantly defining your target. I've bound the C key to select my target. I know a lot of people use tab. I find C is a little bit closer, especially when I'm not using that area of the keyboard for dodging anymore. I find that to be quite useful. So you have to start learning to define your own targets, and for a while you'll be flying through enemies and you'll be doing weird stuff and Ride the Lightning and won't be hitting, but when you are used to it, yes, it's more key presses, and this can be a reasonably intensive build when you're just running around swapping through stuff constantly. But if you do this, then eventually you will be able to get out of any sticky situation really you like, because not only do you have Ride the Lightning, you also have Lightning Flash, which is, it just all feeds into itself, and it's just all so useful. So yeah, as you can see there, you can just, I mean, these are only Dolyacs, but still, it's a lot of damage, it's a lot of boons, and generally there aren't too many trade-offs. I would say, my experience with the dungeons in particular, for general PvE, go nuts, go glass cannon. With this kind of build, as far as all of your gear is concerned, just absolutely do whatever you want. Just go as much power and precision and critical damage and condition damage as you want, because I really don't think you're going to take that much damage. The amount of protection you're getting from this, from going into Earth is giving you protection, from going into either Lightning or Water is giving you protection. All of them stack duration, they'll just give you plenty of it. Armor of Earth obviously is giving you a ton, it's giving you a lot of seconds of it, and that's all a lot more chance for enemies to do glancing blows to you, and you're going to be taking 33% less damage. It's just, you're not really going to run into any problems. For more difficult PvE content, I would suggest there are better things that you can be going for with your gear. I think you do need to spec a bit more defensively with gear, very much so. And with big event chains and stuff, this build, despite the fact you do have 4 attunements and you can be rolling through them quite often, you do have a bit of a cooldown. Honestly, you really do have a bit of a cooldown. Like right now, I've kind of blown all my stuff, and I can roll into Earth, but you see, it's not that nice using Churning Earth before using Earthquake, because you can't knock them down, you're going to take a little bit more damage. It can be a little bit cumbersome on the recharges. I have played a bit with the traits that reduce recharges. You guys can feel free to go ahead, but it does mean you're going to be sacrificing in other areas, honestly. Areas which I don't feel like I want to sacrifice in at this point. So I would say there are better things you can be going for in certain situations. Staff, for example, if you really are in a big event, like if any of you been to the Harathi hinterlands, that's one of the earliest places where you see this kind of thing happen. You can do a lot of damage through earth on your staff there. That skill 2 on your staff will just shred so much damage into people that it's not even funny. So there are definitely different situations. For general PvE though, this is the most engaging, most rewarding, most fun combat I've been experiencing. There's so much you can do with it that it just boggles my mind how much I'm still learning about the different things I can do. One thing I would say that I find quite lackluster about Elementalists in general at the moment is elites, honestly. Really, the Glyph of Elementals is the only one I've been using, not because it's a great summon at all, really. It's probably better in Water Attunement or Earth Attunement just because it's got a bit more sustain and it will take aggro away from you. But just because it's the only elite we really have available to us that's helpful in general fights and is on a reasonable cooldown at the same time. Other elites that we have available to us just don't really cut it. Greatsword's been a lot of fun in dungeons when I've been able to give it to other people, and it does a fair bit of damage, but it doesn't compare to what my normal damage is, not with a build like this. The Greatsword just is subpar. I would only be summoning it for other people, and the Tornado is even worse for damage. And honestly, where you have a blowout and a knockdown on your regular combo here, having all of the control that the Tornado provides isn't that useful, really. The blind is nice from the Tornado, but it's just, it feels like I'm not doing enough for the team while I'm there. You can't be a attunement swap in. You can't really provide that support to your allies or to yourself. It just takes longer to kill stuff in the Tornado, so it just doesn't really seem worth it. And you're too squishy as well. You gain stability, sure, they can't knock you about, but you are an Elementalist at the end of the day, and you've got to get right up in people's faces. If there's any range on the other side, then you're just not going to be able to do anything to them. So Tornado I find lackluster. Honestly, I haven't really enjoyed any of the Asura elites either. All the golems feel kind of crappy, especially for their cooldowns. I miss playing as a human, really, because humans at least get the Hounds of Balthazar, which at the moment looks to be my favourite racial elite skill, and it certainly would be my elite skill of choice right now. So yeah, that's really everything I have to say about the Elementalist as far as this build's concerned. I've been having a lot of fun with it. Lastly, my key bindings, they're a little bit different. I do have a bit of an advantage. I've got a Razor Naga, which is a mouse I feel like a lot of people frown at and stuff, and a lot of people say it isn't really worth it. Actually, I have all of the buttons on the mouse bound right now, every single one of them, and they're incredibly useful, and I can very easily just roll through achievements, use all of my skills on my right hand, swap achievements, and do all of the movement on the left hand, and it's just very, very easy. So yeah, there you go. That's pretty much my build. I wanted to share it for a while. As I say, it's probably not even that good. Probably people have found way better. There is some crazy stuff going on in the PvP community at the moment. But hey, I've not really looked into PvP at the moment. So yeah, for any of you Elementalists out there or anyone who wanted a bit of a look at Elementalist mechanics and stuff, hopefully this has been enjoyable for you. I guess we'll end this video here. It's probably been quite long, so thanks very much for watching, guys. There will be more stuff to come in the future. I did film a particularly interesting fight at the end of Sorrow's Embrace yesterday, which, I don't know, I might stitch onto the end of this, or I might do a different video. But in any case, thanks for watching. We did a huge video in this corner of Timberline, Krognar Pass. Fantastic. I guess I will see you guys later. Hope you're still having fun in game like I am. See yous.